Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF and on today's episode we're going to be covering another Glasgow 1770. Now before we get into this, you may have noticed around the comments and whatnot, I did get sent this by the distillery, but as always, no money changes hands on that. It's simply a free bottle and it's under no caveats whatsoever. So I've given free rein to whenever I release the video and all the comments I've got to make about that. But of course, I do start the video to show you that because I know not everyone is into that sort of thing, so you can make your own decisions based on that information alone. That said, let's get into this and see what we've got. You guys know I'm a big fan of Glasgow 1770, so to receive a bottle like this, more than happy to do so. What we have here is the latest in their small batch series. Now their core range, you know, I've tried it, I like it. They've even adjusted some of it and it's become better. Like for instance, the triple distilled, I didn't particularly vibe off the first release, but the second release that adjusted the recipe and it was banging. Still love that. It's behind me somewhere over here and I'm enjoying that a lot. Now, I really enjoy their small batch stuff because they're really playing with some interesting cask types and combinations. Considering the age of these things, this one we've actually got a created and bottled date on it, so it's going to be 4 or 5 years old. We've got a year at least, I should say, but we'll get into that when I go through the label in a moment. What we've got here then is what they're calling the red wine and ruby port cask finish. It's a lot. Now, the cask types in this. So when true story as well, when I shared a picture of this on my Discord channel. If you're not part of the Discord, then make sure you go and check the description below for links about stuff like that. But when I posted that out there, Chris from the last drop said, "Is it too much?" It's a lot, I will say that. But as we get into it, you'll see that I don't think it's too much, but it is a lot. So what we have here then is 2 different maturations that are being married together. I think there's 6 casks total. So I'm not sure if it's half and half or whatever the kind of vibes are, but the first sort of segment, let's say, is their peated single malt, which you know I like. You know, the peated release was one of my favourite whiskies of 2021, I think. Can't remember the year. But so, okay, we've got the peated single malt that was aged in virgin US oak and then finished in Bordeaux red wine casks. So that's the peated part of it. The second part of it is the triple distilled distillate that was aged in first fill ex-bourbon, so you know, not virgin oak, which is cool, I like that, and it was finished in ruby port casks. They were married together, the 6 casks, to produce this. I believe it's cask strength, but I'm not sure, I have to admit, I'm not sure. It's 57.5%, so it's pretty high nonetheless. And of course, we love to talk about this now, but Glasgow 1770 have transitioned into the full-sized 70cl bottles rather than the half litres and retained their pricing structure. So this is selling for £59 in the UK right now, obviously plus delivery and whatnot. Something cool about this as well is it's batch number 1, so hopefully they're going to make more of this, but we'll see that when it comes out to it. Of course, natural colour, non-chill filtered, and you can see the label is pretty cool. We like that sort of thing. All the information I just said is on the label as well, so you know, full transparency from them, and you can find out slightly more information on the website. Now, as I said earlier about the age of it, we've got a created of 2018 and a bottled in 2022. So, you know, roughly it's going to be sort of 3-4 years old, something like that. I'm not sure about the exact dates on that. It could be either way. So it's around their kind of ballpark. You know, these guys haven't been around for an excessively long time, so you know, most of their stuff is in that sort of ballpark. But as I've said before in many videos, I don't really care about age because a lot of the newer guys who need to put whiskey out there sooner than a lot of the older guys do, who can afford to mature things for 15 years or plus, they've adjusted the way they make their whiskey to account for that, so that it's better tasting sooner, if that makes sense at all. So you know, if you go and visit these newer distilleries, they'll tell you that and you can find out about it. Well, there you go then. Let's get into the actual tasting itself, which I've got just behind here. It's this one I would say give it a minute in the glass. You know, like I said earlier, it is a lot. Not too much, but it is a lot. And we can talk about the colour, which is great. It's got a really deep copper vibe about it, bordering on the line of almost red. I'll wager, well, a good wedge from the port and a good wedge from the wine, right? So I'm not sure how wet they were, but you know, this has taken some heavy influence off of those. Let's get onto the nose then and see what we've got. Oh, now, for me, this gives off Really strong barbecue vibes. Now, if you follow me on kind of social media, and if you're part of my Discord, you'll know that I've been kind of getting into backyard grilling a lot over the last year or so. And this smells like a beautifully rubbed smoky rib that's been on the smoker for a good couple of hours. But oddly, it's got a really nice sweet back end to it as well. Those kind of red fruits, they talk about it on the livery a lot, but for me, I'm getting the cherries out of this in terms of red fruits. Lovely. It's, in terms of the smokiness, yeah, it's the smoky ribs, but it's not like, alright, it's a peated distillate, but I'm not getting overly peaty vibes of this. I'm not getting earthy vibes. Just a lovely smoky vibe, basically. Let's get onto the palate. Now this takes some unpicking because it's huge, right? So you do get a couple of seconds on the tongue of sweetness, those kind of red berries coming through. Then hit some really massive, in my opinion, they say peppercorns, but for me, I'm getting a real vibe of chili heat from this. Not the flavours of chili, just that kind of like that quick explosion of heat that you get from when you're eating like a raw chili or something like that. Followed by those kind of huge tannic notes. They go on about tobacco on here. I think that's pretty much bang on. It's massive, and it just keeps going on and on and on. The finish is just so long. The peat here isn't massive. There is definitely a smoky vibe about this, and I enjoy that. It's all mingled in together. And, you know, as I said, to respond to Chris's comments, it is a lot. There's a lot going on in here. You really do need to give it a minute in the glass, and you really do need to spend some time with it, because every mouthful you're going to get something slightly different from this, I'll wager. Let's see. Yeah, so on that version there, once my palate's sort of acclimatised into a bit more, I'm almost getting a kind of burnt match vibe from it as part of the tannins as well. And it just keeps going. You can see I'm a pretty good wedge through this already. I'm going to enjoy seeing how this develops on the way through. And of course, when I do my Whisky Out review of this, if you like, a kind of, almost bottle kill thing, I'll detail any changes that I got from that. But yeah, for me, really enjoying that. Obviously, as I said at the top of the show, they sent me this. But, they would have been a day or two ahead of me, say, like going on the website and buying it, I imagine. Because the cognac up here, I bought a couple of their other ones over my time. So, really good of them to send me this. But, yeah, I probably would have got around to buying that pretty soon anyway. Because, as I said earlier, massive fan of what they're doing there. Really need to go and visit those guys. Because how they're making this sort of spirit in those sort of years is incredible. Really love it. There you go. That's my review of the Glasgow 1770 red wine and ruby cask finish. Great. Check it out. Go online, buy it if you can. I'll drop a link in the description below, but as I said earlier, it's got absolutely no there's no affiliates or anything like that messing around with that. Just supporting the distillery. Catch you again on more no nonsense whiskey videos.